PM, could we have the roll call, please?
Trustee Burrell. Here. Trustee Bella. Here. Trustee Meadow.
Here.
Trustee Rule is absent. Trustee Samari.
Here.
Trustee Suplet.
Here.
Present. Absent.
He didn't know if he was gonna be able to make it or not, anyway.
Currently absent.
All right, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You? Do we have any public comment? No public comment? Okay. Moving on, our liaison report, Friends of the Library.
No report from the Friends.
Okay, the foundation.
Okay, Foundation sent me a report. The scholarship application deadline has been extended to April 15th due to their application site being down for some period in February. The development committee continues to meet to create the next foundation foodstuffs fundraiser that will be in May. More details next month. A member of the advisory team is working with them and library staff to try to get better pricing on an ongoing project, and more details as available in the future. Gloria spent the past 3 months meeting with individual advisory team members to bring them up to date, announce plans for fall gathering, and getting them to complete an updated confidentiality form. The advisory team has lost one member and added another, so they remain solid and having great talent from which to draw experience as needed. It's come to their attention that the foundation page on the library's website is outdated, so they have scheduled to have a new photo taken next month. And they're in the process of once again growing the board with the talent and expertise they need to move into the management phase of their development, and more on that next month. So that was from Lori.
Good, thank you, Mike. We have a motion for approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 21st, 2023.
I'll move that we approve the minutes of the regular board meeting from February 21st, 2023.
I second.
Any additions, corrections? Okay, they stand approved as submitted. And approval of the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of March 6th, 2023.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting from March 6, 2023. I second.
Any additions or corrections? And they stand approved as submitted. Review of the financial report for the period ending February 28th, 2023.
Okay, real estate tax revenue totaled $76,975.10 for the month of February. We collected non-resident card fee revenue in the amount of $442. Our copier printer revenue totaled $3,242.62. Lost item charges totaled $489.91. Our February interest income was $37,697.39. Again, interest income was high last month. It was also very high, and we thought maybe there was an issue with the way it was reported, but it is in fact that high. So as long as the interest rates remain as high as they are, that income will remain hopefully at that level. Donations totaled $231.87. Revenue collected for vehicle stickers totaled $326. Makerspace miscellaneous revenue was $442.70, and total revenue collected in February was $120,869.28. On the expense side, we are 17% of the way through our fiscal year, and we have expensed 18% of our total operating budget. As a result, we have an unfavorable variance of $230,922. But note that in the early part of the year, contractual service expenses for annual renewals are typically higher than the rest of the year. So it's front loaded with renewals of contracts. And then commodity expenses also tend higher at the beginning of the year as we pay for annual electronic resources. 1% of the total capital budget has been expended as of February. And then I was just going to ask maybe Tracy to talk a little bit more about the ERP software implementation. They ran into a couple of issues this last month, and wanted to talk a little bit about the reporting that they see. So Tracy, do you mind just talking a little bit about that?
and expenditure report, that my kids spoke to is correct in our packet. But we did have to manually manipulate it in order to get it correct. So the system's working great. We're seeing a lot of efficiencies in our day-to-day processes. But one of the hiccups that we run into is that we currently have no access or training on how to write custom reports. So we're limited to what's just readily available in the software or custom reports that we requested the Tyler consultant write for us. And so they have, and that's what is in your we have to match the report to being under our whole software. We test those, we go through the process with them to make sure they're working correctly, but when we run them real time this month, sometimes we'll see errors in them, and we have no ability ourselves to correct the coding of those reports. So we're sort of limited to their availability. So we did manually manipulate it. It was, time consuming. Shout out to my staff for doing that for Mike on Friday and getting it correct for your purposes. But all the reports that reviews have been corrected as of now by our consultant. So we hope we won't run into that going forward and be a little easier for you. But that's probably only so far.
Thank you.
That's all I had, but if there's any questions.
And we'll move on to review of the check register for the period of ending February 28, 2023.
Okay, I had quite a few questions this month, so I may take a little bit longer than normal, but shut through these here. The first one on page 2, 12, and 49, check 100384 to M&J Technologies. So that is a total of $19,532.58, but it's made up of various checks or various lines in there. The payment includes $12,500 for 34 renewals of our Adobe Creative cloud licensing. So that's 18 for MakerPlace and 16 for the main library. It also includes $7,000 for laptops for the public training center and circulation at the public training center and circulation at the TLC desk, our learning center desk. And when I say circulation, I mean that people can check those laptops out. The portion of the license renewals related to 2024 is coded as a prepaid expense, while the portion related to 2023 is showing as current year expenditures. So part of that is a prepaid. On page 3, check 100325 to AHML. That's an American Express charge in the amount of $703.68. That is hotel expenses for our community engagement liaison, Catalina Shin, during the January ALA Midwinter Conference in New Orleans. On page 4, check 100325, also to AHML, is a American Express charge in the amount of $237.30. That is for 2 batteries for our scooters that are available for customer use. So you have one on display here to show you. So we replaced batteries on our scooters. On page 5, check 100336 to Cardinal Color Group in the amount of $15,048. That is the printing of our March newsletters, or our March newsletter. Printing prices have increased significantly over prior year due to inflation-related price increases. We have budgeted accordingly, and we also made some changes such as the weight of the paper and things like that, that we could do the best that we could to keep our prices in line.
Question, does that include the postage?
I don't know. I'd have to get back to you.
It does not.
Okay,
It does
thank you
not,
very much.
okay. And how many copies do we get?
39,000.
Thank you.
Okay, then on page 6, check 100320 to Robert Joseph Anderlich in the amount of $1,000. That is for musical entertainment by Anderlich and Associates for the volunteer recognition celebration and concert on April 18th. The theme of the event is Together Again, celebrating our volunteer community, and marks the first time the event will be in person after a 3-year hiatus. On page 11, check 100325 to AHML. It's another American Express charge in the amount of $158.31. That is for the MakerPlace Kitchen TV that is now broadcasting or showing what's happening on the island. You'll see that I mentioned that in the director's report. That $158 was for the Apple TV, which is a device that connects to the TV that allows us to stream through it. Actually, that will come down a couple dollars. That was with the tax will be removed from that purchase and refunded to us. On page 12, check 100344 to Dow Marketing LP in the amount of $14,333.76. That is for 12 all-in-one PCs for the public training center. There was a budgeted operating expense separate from the staff and public desktop computer purchase that you guys approved last month. On page 13, check 100317 to Alterger Industries in the amount of $856.01. That is for our generator. We had an issue with it, so that was for the repair. It was time and material to replace the block heater. So that is our generator that resides in the parking lot. When power goes out, it backs up our battery backup system. On page 14, check 100393 to Oak Brook Mechanical Services in the amount of $7,569. That is for winter work for our 2 chillers, and that takes about a week. It involves removing the condenser heads to perform maintenance, such as replacing oil filters, calibrating transducers, cleaning, greasing pumps, and performing the spring startup. So those chillers remain off throughout the winter, and now that we're coming into spring, that was our annual maintenance on those.
So is that's an annual fee, so expect that
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah, that's our spring startup cost. Then on page 16, check 100323 to AHML for special funds. That's a petty cash for mileage. There were various amounts for that one. That was replenishment of petty cash paid to staff for reimbursements of various operational expenditures under $50, including mileage incurred by youth services staff for outreach and purchase of program supplies. On page 17, check 100347 to Discovery Center Museum of Rockford in the amount of $625. That is for a youth services STEM program on April 1st entitled Little Scientists, where children will experience hands-on experiments, games, math, science, and make and take projects designed to engage and interest some of our littlest learners. On page 19, check 100421 to Unique Management Services in the amount of $108.35. That is for collection services for customers with overdue materials. On page 23, check 100315 for ALA membership in the amounts of $185 and $303. That is for our annual ALA membership renewals for certain staff. So the base membership and the rates vary depending upon whether the member is a librarian, a manager, support staff, so on and so forth. And we can also add different add-ons to their base membership based on their role. On page 23, check 100385 to Mobile Beacon in the amount of $3,720. That is for the 4G internet Wi-Fi access hotspots for, we have 31 circulating hotspot devices as part of our library of things. The hotspot devices give users wireless connections virtually anywhere for up to 12 hours. Then on page 48, check 100310 to 3D Control Systems in the amount of $960. That is a 1-year subscription to our 3D printer cloud management software for the MakerPlace. This was an unbudgeted expense because the vendor recently started charging for this service where they didn't previously. So we will include that in the budget going forward.
What page was that, Mike?
That was page 48.
48.
Then on page 50, check 100401 to RIC Electric in the amount of $1,249.09. That was a replacement of 3 LED wall pack fixtures to replace existing fixtures at the MakerPlace. Those are on the exterior of the building. That's parking lot lighting. So those were the original, older fixtures there. We replaced them with LED fixtures. Then on the last page, the special fund summary, check 1621, that was for HML special funds. It was a transfer to disbursement in the amount of $100,000. So this represents money that we move from our Harris Bank account where we do our weekly cash deposits to our disbursement account at Chase. So we only keep about $30,000 in that first account. When the balance gets high, we move money over using a special check. So that's what that was. And then there are various pages throughout for check 100327 to Baker and Taylor in various amounts. Baker and Taylor is one of our premier vendors or primary vendors for our collection items, so books, CDs, DVDs, that kind of stuff. And let's see, this allows us to put large carts together to make shipping and invoicing more efficient. We also use Baker and Taylor for cataloging and processing services for new and popular collection. Ingram is our second most used vendor for collection items, and this Midwest Tape is used for most of our AV materials. Amazon is used when we cannot obtain collection items from these other vendors, such as for Library of Things, or we need items faster, which is why it tends to runs lower per month than the others. So Baker and Taylor is really our primary source for materials. That is all the questions I had on insurance. Anybody have any other questions?
I'll move that we approve the accounts payable check register for the Arlington Heights Memorial Library, February 28th, 2023. In the amount of $1,108,976.11.
I second.
Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Burrell? Yes. Trustee Gallo?
Yes.
Trustee Meadow?
Yes.
Trustee Samari?
Yes.
Trustee Sutcliffe?
Aye.
Okay, and moving right into the executive director's report.
Okay, so I will highlight a few things from the director's report this month, starting on the first page, beyond the book discussion. So our info services advisors and Maker Place staff collaborated to plan and host the first Beyond the Book discussion at the Maker Place around the book Hooked, How Crafting Saved My Life by Sutton Foster. A cross-stitched bookmark craft was included while advisors and customers discussed the book. Of the 16 attendees, 5 had never attended a book discussion and most had never been to the Maker Place. And is that you? Yeah, that's what I thought. How was it? Did you enjoy it?
Great.
Good. All right. Then on page 2, our community DEI task force, I just wanted to mention that. Members of the Arlington Heights DEI Community Task Force had their first meeting of the year. Our community engagement liaison, Catalina Shin, represented the library and shared the library's idea statement, idea definitions and objectives. So this task force is comprised of other entities in Arlington Heights, and each representative of the Arlington Heights Park District, school districts, and Village of Arlington Heights shared their progress and upcoming projects regarding DEI, as well as future collaborations and community-wide initiatives. Then on that same page, I wanted to highlight the big winners at the Lions Club Chili Cook-Off, and we actually have our winners here tonight as special guests. So we had a winning weekend.
Thank you for coming.
Our Maker Place Assistant Manager, Chris Kruger, won Best Veggie Chili. Congratulations, Chris. And our Finance Manager, Tracy Sarah, won Best Chili overall. So congratulations.
Wow.
Thank you for representing the library. You guys did-
My gosh.
Maybe you should be teaching
Where are the
class.
samples?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just below that, we also had a presence at the trivia contest, the Arlington Heights Historical Society's team trivia. We placed second, missing the top prize by only one question. And Chris was also in that.
Who beat us out?
I don't know, what was the group that did that?
Oh,
Nah, okay. So I will note that the chili cook-off and the trivia was on the same day. And Chris went to the chili cook-off for the first part of the day and then had to leave early to get to the trivia contest. So that is dedication. So thank you, Chris.
Impressive.
Awesome.
Oh, that's why he has the same shirt on. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. That's his winning shirt.
Just a lucky shirt.
All right, then on page 3 at the bottom there, in celebration of Black History Month, programs and exhibit specialist Neil Parker curated a wider lens screening and discussion of Amir Questlove Thompson's award-winning documentary, Summer of Soul. Music writer Aaron Cohen joined the event to facilitate a wide-ranging and very informative discussion. He touched on the film's background and the historical implications surrounding the historic Harlem Culture Festival taking place following Martin Luther King's assassination and in the same year as Woodstock. On the next page, page 4, the community blood drive. This month, the library crushed its goal and had one of its best attended community blood drives. With a goal of 22, the library had 36 registered to donate, of which 8 were first-time donors. 34 units were collected. So that's a pretty big amount and definitely a good contribution. Okay, then on page 7, There was a full house of 78 for Steve Justman's Listen and Learn program at the Senior Center on February 15th, where he highlighted the history and performed the music of both icons, Peter, Paul, and Mary, and the Kingston Trio. Staff received an overwhelmingly positive response and abundance of comments on the program. I talked to Mary Jo, who headed this up after this program. She said it was very well received and very engaged audience. So wanted to highlight that one. Then on that same page, just below that, February 2023 marked the first Illinois Libraries Present event geared to teens and families. Along with all member libraries in Illinois, the library welcomed award-winning children's and young adult author and poet Kwame Alexander via Zoom. More than 800 attended the live event, 44 of whom identified Arlington Heights as their home library. The motivational conversation style event flowed smoothly and included great questions from Kwame submitted by the audience. Kwame spoke of his works as well as how instrumental libraries and librarians are to communities. And on that same page, our programs and exhibits staff worked with storyteller William Pack to bring a presentation on the history of magic and influential magicians in the United States. On a Friday evening in February, 110 adults gathered in the Hendrickson Room to attend a show that included tricks while Pack lectured. He made many references to his childhood in the 60s and 70s while growing up in the Chicago area. Pack focused on his commitment in being a magician, and the role Chicago had in the development of magic in American culture. Thanks. And then moving on to page 10. On February 28th, Chef Grace celebrated the seasonality of fresh citrus with back-to-back classes. 15 student chefs in the afternoon and 19 in the evening class whipped up decadent French toast, yogurt sauce, and topped it with beautifully sliced citrus fruits. This was the first class to feature the Maker Place Kitchen's new camera system. Where in the past, participants would have to stand around the front station. The camera TV system ensures that participants sitting anywhere in the kitchen can have detailed view of what the chef is doing at the front station. This was particularly helpful in this class where Grace was demonstrating how to slice the fruit. So that was something that we received feedback on and was able to get that rolling. Then on page 12, I just wanted to point out the conference rooms. So in February, there were 1,163 completed conference room reservations. This is the highest number since the conference rooms reopened in July of 2021 and is inching closer to the pre-COVID number, which was 1,374 in February 2019. So we do continue to see those conference rooms full. And as you know, the numbers are showing, we are getting right back to where we were. And then last but certainly not least, our senior and accessible services volunteer, Paul Krokendorfer, shared his time and technology expertise with the local seniors. With gratitude, the community awarded Paul with the village's Young at Heart Heart of Gold Award. A big thank you to Paul for his many years of time, talent, and contribution to the community. That's all I have for the director's report.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions?
Is that the first time you've done a back-to-back, Chef Grace?
No, Grace has been back to back since
Yeah,
November of 21.
Yeah, that's a nice, I mean, it's probably easier for her, easier for the
Yes.
people purchasing everything.
It's easier for staffing, easier
Yeah.
for purchasing, yeah, and definitely easier for her since the restaurant is closed on Tuesdays. That's been her primary day that she's been in the kitchen, scheduling wise.
Okay, any other questions, comments on that? All right, then next up, I'd like to introduce Diane Marchbank Murphy to join us. She is our digital services manager. She's going to talk to us tonight a little bit more about the Maker Place and how they're measuring success and how they're evaluating things over there, and wanted to give you guys a little bit more in-depth knowledge as to the things that Diane and her staff are looking at and how they're measuring success and what all that looks like. So give me 1 minute here, Diane, let me get you situated and let me share this so that people at home can see it as well. Okay, it is all yours.
All righty. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, I'm really happy to be here. I am Diane Marshman Murphy. And I'm actually kind of excited to talk about this stuff, so I will try to pace myself. Today we're here to talk about how we measure success at the maker place, right? I know that's really a question, is how do we measure success? So I'm happy to have that conversation. It's a new space, it's a newer approach to serving adults, and we are especially mindful about how we're allocating our resources to make sure that we're connecting with our community to establish new services, as we want to share the data and the approach with all of you. All right. Before I dive in, I want to tell you a little bit about my professional experience to help shape the context of what I'm sharing with you today. I actually recently retired from working in the city of Chicago government for about a little over 30 years. But I worked at the mayor's office, I worked at the budget office in various capacities, but most importantly, I worked at the Chicago Public Library for 19 years. I started there as the director of acquisitions, where I managed budgets and vendor relationships. So I'm smiling listening to your financial discussions about the different vendors. And so I oversaw purchasing library materials and resources. And then I actually transitioned to program and service innovation after I led the team that actually started Chicago Public Library's very first makerspace. And after I did that, I also trained staff using design thinking, which we use to find creative solutions to support the library's strategic initiatives and change management, which did include actually also rolling out more maker spaces across the Chicago Public Library system. So I just want to give you a little bit of context of who I am. I really enjoy multitasking. Being a part of re-envisioning new ways that libraries can support adults, especially around learning and creativity. So it was really exciting for me to be able to come and join Arlington Heights and begin working with the Maker Place team. So if we're here today, thanks. So across the maker ecosystem, which is actually what we call it in the Chicagoland area, we were all aware of the investment that this community made in the first library standalone space. The space is impressive, and so is the staff. And as we know, the secret sauce to excellent customer service is staff as well as the approach. So the Maker Place staff members bring a wide variety of skills and passions to the table, which we've highlighted here. Every team member is able to provide instruction and support for all of the equipment in the space, from the laser cutters to the sewing machines. And then above and beyond that, every person has their own area of expertise and interest that they contribute, which helps provide expansive support to our customers. Encouraging staff to lean into and share their interests is also a great way to attract and create community. Because creating a makerspace community is what we're focused on. A maker place is a space that provides resources, it provides instruction. It's a place where adults can learn alone and they can also learn together, but it's different than school and it's actually different than a library. So the ultimate goal from our perspective is to grow and establish this unique community so that it becomes a community of practice where adults actually start learning from each other and they're collaborating together with each other as they are learning. And I'm going to the letter. Excuse me. Okay, so how are we doing this? And how are we doing at it? And how do we measure learning? And how do we measure this idea of how we create a community of practice? So to begin the conversation, I'm introducing this learning pyramid that I borrowed from Josiah Stewart in Makerspaces for Adults, one of the many books that does talk about how in the world do we measure these things, because it is a question actually across the country. And so this represents the stages of learning and application of knowledge in a maker space. And it's going to help provide context for what we're currently focused on at the Maker Place and how our approach will actually change over time. We're going to look at this from two different perspectives. First, it's an intended context to talk about these different stages of learning, and then again about what it means for us in terms of how we're approaching that and measuring things. So the initial level of learning is awareness. So this is where a customer is introduced to our space and the possibility. Curiosity can't be awakened until someone becomes aware of the potential of something. Next up is the implementation stage. This is when an adult is willing to take a risk, get their hands dirty, try something new. And it's really significant because for adults, there's a big fear of failure when it comes to learning new things. So this implementation stage is really critical. Transferability is when a maker then takes the skills they've learned and starts applying them in a different context. And then when the maker starts combining the tools, the skills, and ideas, that's called synthesis. And then up there at the top is creation. So that is when the maker has all the skills, all the knowledge, they know how to use all of the equipment, and now they have ideas and this thing that they've always wanted to do, and they're just kind of off doing it very independently, doing their own thing. So it's important to know that these stages, they're stages. They're not necessarily progressive. There's not necessarily a goal of, as we bring customers in to get them to the top. It's fine. Awareness is extremely important because that is the number, that's where we're getting them through the doors to come in and visit us and see us. But they might come in and do a class and then hang out in this implementation stage. That's great for us. Those are the return users. They are repeat customers. And it's not our job to try to get anybody to go up the ladder. But focusing on this awareness and implementation stage, this is how we're establishing our foundation right now. So now that we have some context about the learning stages and what that looks like in a maker space, let's talk about how we support it from a customer service perspective and how we can start figuring out how we measure success at these different stages, because it's going to look different. Right now, we've been open for about 1.5 years. And we are still focused on awareness and implementation because we're establishing a new method of service, and we believe a new type of community. As you see in the diagram, the level of effort of staff engagement over there, it's very high at these stages. So it's heavy initially, and it reduces as customer knowledge goes up, their need for staff resources goes down. So why is it so heavy at this very first stage? Again, we're laying a foundation. This is where we're doing outreach, we're giving tours, we're identifying what interests actually resonate with this community, because every community is different. We are creating classes, we're creating programs, we're busy evaluating the success, we're tweaking them as necessary, we're creating program guides, templates, we're creating instructional videos. And so this is, there's a lot of work to be done, and our staff's been really busy doing it. Actually, District 25 representatives were in the space recently, and they said, oh, hey, we just looked at your website before we came over today, and we see how many resources you actually have added, which is, so much more than what we saw a year ago when we came at this time. So we're doing the work, and it's showing, it's adding up. And so right now at this level, basic metrics for success in this category is door count. Now, the implementation stage also requires a lot of staff resources. Remember, this is when the customer comes in, they're ready to learn the new thing. It's very exciting, but it actually does require staff resource, right? To get them set up on equipment, to do instruction, to help get them comfortable. So the basic metrics for success at this stage include class participation and returning customers. Now, as customers develop more skills, a community of practice develops, and where makers work together to increase their skills and knowledge. So, like I said, the more they know, kind of the less they need us. Of course, we're always going to be invested at every level. We will always need to do outreach, but we will establish a foundation. We've built a knowledge base, routines, programs, so that will shift how we are allocating our resources in terms of staff time. And as learning progresses and customers start doing new things, so after we get past the implementation stage, how we measure success is going to change because we're going to start asking different questions about how to identify and measure learning outcomes, such as building digital literacy, advancing problem solving, fostering collaboration. But for now, we can talk about numbers. Maker Place door counts. Our door count is steadily increasing. Blue is 2022, orange is 2023. As we plan for programs in the upcoming months, the team recaps what we're told previously to determine classes and activities. And you can see that our door counts in 2023 are off to a very strong start when January and February are notoriously slow times at makerspaces. Maker Place usage in 2022, of all the people who walked through the doors in 2022, 82% of them came to tour or use the space and equipment. So that is above and beyond the people who came to culinary and maker classes. So 82% are interested and want to learn more. All right. This graphic illustrates the popularity of our online resources. So remember, at this stage, our staff are really busy creating content. And today, our Maker Place specialists have worked together and made 7 videos. And those 7 videos are getting more views than our main library's collection of 73 videos. Now, we're not trying to compare against the main library necessarily, but we do consider this a really good indicator that our, yes.
Let's go into this. So what were the 7 and who's watching?
Well, I'm not sure that we have the data on actually who's watching yet. That's something that we are really interested in pressing into, which I will talk about a little bit later. But yeah, we're very curious about who the users are that are finding us and how they actually did connect to our videos, because we want to figure out how we're connecting to them. Absolutely. The 7 are about basic, I'm looking at you guys because I haven't, but the basic equipment use.
The classes that we run over and over, Maker Place Essentials, those are online versions of those classes. So if you're in a make class, we're scheduling the same content available. All those we're going to see getting the most usage.
I think this really supports kind of what we've been hearing from our community with, as far as the makerspace goes, you know, that the uncertainty of coming in without purpose and, you know, learning online first before coming in and doing. Dan talked a little bit about, you know, that adults are afraid to fail. And this is a perfect opportunity for them to learn before they come in, and seeing the usage. Obviously, it's very different usage than the main library, but you can see, just to give some context, how much more usage we're getting out of those videos than the main library now. Clearly, the makerspace building and the mission over there is a little bit different in that it's very dependent upon instruction. So that does make sense, but I think it's a very interesting use of the niche academy.
And it's called Niche Academy, I'm sorry, it's called Niche Academy, but so that is a resource that we have where our staff uses it to make the online videos that we put onto our website. Okay. Let's see, more numbers, yes, okay. So this side represents, I think for me especially, exciting potential. Over a 100-day period, 52% of the customers who use the equipment at the Maker Place only checked out equipment at the Maker Place, meaning they did not check out any items from the main library. So we are intrigued by the possibilities of this, and we want to explore if this means we are indeed tapping into a new customer base. If 48% of the users over there also checked out items at the main library, that's fantastic, right? It means that we're providing services and expanding benefit to our regular customers. And if 52% of the Maker Place customers use the Maker Place and actually didn't use the main library, that potentially means that we're expanding our customer service base and tapping into a new audience, which is something that we do indeed want to be doing. Yes.
That is very interesting. So to be clear, when you say 52% are Maker Place only, over what period of time?
It's a 100-day period.
Oh, the 100
limited
days.
time,
Cool.
Right. Collect the statistics through the different computer
Wow.
systems.
No, I get that.
And it will, and because especially since we have our P&E team here too, I mean, I will say, we don't know unequivocally, like that they didn't use the library or that they didn't go
Right.
to programs at the library. But we are basing it solely on use of equipment, circulation
And
checkouts.
so then you're drilling down on that 50% to get some sort of a demographic.
That's what we really, yes, that
There you
is, like, this is kind of, I feel like, as Chris and I have been looking at statistics lately, this is a newer discovery that we were like, whoa, wait a second, what is this? So we're just to the point where like, oh, yeah, okay, now we really want to start honing in and figuring out what does this mean. Mhm. And I have more about this, right? And within this group of unique users, the 52% in the sample, 207 of them checked out multiple pieces of equipment. So that means that they used more than one piece. So that's what it means, but it means like they came again, or they stayed for a while. So this is exciting to us because then we're looking at this as then, oh, and then they're return users as well. So not just unique users, but return users. So those are things that we're looking at in terms of significance. I don't know what that don't mean, so we're gonna go on. What that says. Okay, so as we plan our programs and strategies, we integrate the data from the other source, these other sources, as well as the strategic plan surveys. While we know that the survey results indicate Mondays through Thursdays are most convenient times for customers to attend programming, we also know a couple other things about, as we talk about, should we be open on Mondays? We also know that our other library makerspace counterparts are all closed on Mondays. And we also know, I'm laughing because I actually picked up the wrong set of notes. I added really good stuff. And we also know, we also know, so our other makerspace counterparts are closed on Mondays. So we know that they have, explored that as well. And they've done that for reason. But we also have the information that we have not received many requests about being open on Mondays and Fridays from the customers who are interested in using our space. Yes.
So why is it bumping on Saturdays and Sundays?
In terms of when our customers think it's a more convenient time for them, I think, this is about the survey results from the strategic plan. So I think it's easier for them to come on Saturdays and Sundays, but we're very busy. I mean, on Saturdays and Sundays as it is. Chris was there a couple Saturdays ago when we were messaging and he's like, oh yeah, I have like 100 people through the door in just a few hours. So yeah, we're very busy on Saturdays and Sundays.
And so we're closed on.
We're closed on Mondays and Fridays, right? And so, we do know that we do not believe we actually have a demand for being open on Mondays. We know that other folks with the same kinds of resources are not open on Mondays. But being closed on Mondays and Fridays really still gives us the flexibility to support other types of events, right? So we have this coming Monday, we have a youth services takeover. And so we're able to go ahead and do that and work with the youth services librarians who will provide the programming in the space and it's not disruptive to customers or regular operations. We did a really awesome community day of service for MLK Day in the kitchen. That was something that we were able to do because we closed on a Monday, so it didn't really require us moving resources around too much.
Yes, thank you. I'm just curious, what made the decision to pull out Fridays as a benchmark here versus a Monday? Like, so it's Monday through Thursday and we're not open on Monday and Friday, but we're looking at Fridays isolated.
This is a general
Like a
question that was from the strategic plan.
Okay,
And so we were looking at, normal weekdays versus Friday and then the weekend. So we weren't specifically focused on Mondays when we sent this out. It goes back a while. So that's why that's not.
So those were all choices that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so this is specifically asking about programs, am I understanding that?
Yes.
Okay,
Programs, this is not specific even to makerspace. No,
Okay.
no, yeah. This is just kind of like the general context of, right, like, what do people generally want to come to the library? What do they want to see us do things? And so we are just supplying like their answers to it, in conjunction with the statistics that we have about what we're doing at the makerspace and how we see people using our space. So, and then the hours of the staffing models are just part of what we're considering as how we evaluate what we're doing. Right now, our data indicates that we're doing well with what we're doing, and so we just want to be really mindful about how we're pressing into that. All right, and so the way we plan to continue to press in and keep doing what we're doing well is things like meeting the demand for culinary classes, right? Very popular. We have been working with P&E. We have a minimum of 6 programs every month of the outside presenters coming in. We're really averaging more 6 to 8 programs at this point. We have plans in the works. We've been discussing various ideas. We're going to do open kitchen time with Chef Brian, where we can have people kind of come and drop in, have consultation with him. And it's not necessarily a structured class, so we're not as limited by the 16-seat space. We are looking at things like doing things in conjunction with other library programs, like the ESL program. We want to have them be able to come and host and conduct their own classes within the space in different languages and or practicing English as well. And we are also looking at staff-led programs, some inspired by chef ideas, right? So that is one thing that we're doing. More things that we're doing, we're going to continue building the foundation. Oh, sorry. I'm like, wait, what? So part of continuing to build the foundation is we have the Maker Place Essential classes. Those are the intro level classes. We have consistently continued to sell out those classes. So we are going to keep offering those intro level classes until we actually see the demand start to decline. We feel it's really important for consistency. It's really important for that awareness level. And we rotate the schedule, so we make sure we're offering a wide reach. You know, some people do come on one day, not another. We have also noticed that meetups are organically happening in our space, and that's actually inspired us to start focusing on our own meetups. So cosplay, pretty popular around here. So we are starting a cosplay meetup. We're also starting a fiber arts meetup because we definitely have a high level of interest for the different arts in our spaces, for sure. And then also with the meetups, we feel like it's supporting and modeling that idea of community of practice, right? It's helping get that established. And it also will help fill the gap. So if somebody is kind of like, hey, I've been to 3 intro classes, I'd like another class, but we don't necessarily have the demand for that yet. Having the meetups will help give us another way to help meet the needs and help provide some additional instruction or community practice, so that person can get more assistance. And we are collaborating with library departments. You saw that we have the Beyond the Book book club, the Info Services book club. We are going to be doing quarterly book clubs with them. We have the Youth Services takeover. The digital services team here at the main library actually also helps support programs by hosting a class here to help people learn how to design things, and then sends them over to the Maker Place to go ahead and pick up their design. We will be bringing in more outside presenters, and we are definitely planning for our anniversary party. Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
So help me understand Beyond the Book. What is reference there? Collaborating with library departments Beyond the Book.
So the Info Services, so Beyond the Book is the name of the book club that the Info Services hosted at our space just this past month.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just the name of, I believe they have several different book clubs, and it's the name of this one book club where they're connecting the book along with the craft.
so that's what the.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we have we definitely have things in the works for the next 3 quarters of the year for that. Similar.
Yeah, so John, since I was there, like, yeah, it was, instead of just like, kind of, it was really nice, because instead of just like sitting there and talking about
Right.
the book, like, people had something they could be doing with their hands.
Well, and I was thinking about that too, in terms of whatever for dummies, the book club was in fact trying to put together something. But that's not terribly different than what you're displaying here with, crafting saving lives. So,
Right, this is the idea of people would come to the library for the book club normally, but by adding the craft and bringing them into the
That's neat.
makerspace, people who might
Very
normally
clever.
not come have gotten exposed and
Sure.
trust, so they can get a little more familiar.
Yeah, so from what I'm hearing you saying is that it's not that you're closed on Mondays and Fridays, it's
Right.
just that's kind of prioritizing somewhat of a, creative time for staff in the library to be able to shape and design programs that
Exactly.
are specific and even kind of ebb and flow and move with what people are demanding. So it's really not that they're closed, that it's
Correct.
closed, yeah.
Correct,
So I think that's something just for us too, to understand that we're not closed and even communicate with the community, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the open lab part of it is closed.
Right.
It's really more for special events
Yeah.
than, school collaborations or.
I was one-minded, like it's closed,
Yeah.
but it's very
Right.
much not.
And then Fridays are rentals or special events, that are really more popular on Friday
Yeah.
evenings. And offset by the lower interest in coming into the program.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
And then, so we have the anniversary party coming up in September. We did it last year and we're like, well, we obviously should just do that every year. So, I wasn't around for it, looking forward to celebrating with everybody. And then we just added on FanCon. We are supporting the FanCon program planning that will be happening over here. But we also realized like, hey, there's kind of an untapped market of adults who are going to be here. So let's figure out how we can engage them and get them to come on over to the Maker Place. All right, and then also we are focusing on our community collaborations, right? Because we're trying to figure out how to be in the community and with the community. This graphic shows that about 1,900 people, so the third one over there, plan to visit the makerspace in the near future. Our mission there. What is going to appeal to them? They haven't come yet. They intend to. We want to make sure that that actually happens, right? So we're focused on how do we connect with the purpose or the inspiration to get them to step over the threshold. One of our strategies is the community collaboration. So District 214 held a bake-off last year. We are actually meeting with them tomorrow because they are coming back for a second year. So we're excited about that. And District 25 is coming back for their second year because they're doing in-service on a Monday for some of their staff. So those are the types of things that we're working on in partnership with local stakeholders. We're also in conversation with District 214 about Maker Place internships. Conversation I have not had yet. We set the meeting up today, though. We've been in process of getting that established. And we also want to evaluate our marketing methods. So back to your question, like how did those unique users find us? That's something that we want to press into and figure out. And yeah. So I can say a lot more. I'm pretty excited about this topic, but Mike said I had a limit. So
Thank you, Mike.
but I do look forward to coming back and talking to you more, as we're doing things and answering your questions. So I hope this gives you an idea of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And understanding that it's an iterative process that we're constantly evaluating our progress as we're building a new maker community. So I would say thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very informative. We know a lot more now than we did before you came in, and so that's very helpful for us as the representatives and the advocates on behalf of the Maker Place. If you actually went back to the first slide, you had all your folks up there. My questions are, it's okay. We all know what we're doing. The question being, I keep orienting to the culinary in the kitchen, and how that model of having an invited guest come in and present. You know, it's done with the programs here in the library where you're having an invited guest come in and perform. Why we haven't taken that model and applied it to the other areas that are up there? Like, why aren't we having an invited guest for fiber arts or art?
We actually do.
Then how does that work?
We actually do have outside presenters come in, but I'm gonna let you guys.
Yeah, I think in this packet, there are pictures of what's our cute animal?
The owl, so.
Right.
We're looking at watercolor artists come in the summer because we've had lots of interest in fine arts in the space as well.
People, we have a crochet teacher coming in to teach intro to crochet. So we haven't expanded what we can provide outside of this skill set that we have with our staff.
And then when you look at the data of the people who are coming in, the new users make a place only, do you see any kind of correlation between the newer things that you all are doing and anything but culinary and bringing those people in as make a place only, like getting them engaged and getting them on the hook and bringing them in for repeat visits for fine arts, fiber arts, quilting?
You know, it's
Or the
difficult
skill
for us to
set.
identify who is coming into our facility only. But we are doing our best to react to comment cards or comments in person, what people are looking for, in addition to what we're writing down. And like I said, currently our class signups are full all the time, so we know who those are.
So the class kind of still, you're stuck.
Oh, absolutely.
We fill within the first stage, I don't know, yeah, for the class signups. It's not a few hours.
The only thing, and I think Mike might have mentioned it at one of the recent meetings, the only thing we discovered that wasn't filling was our vinyl cutting class. And you will see that we have, like, we all looked at that and we were like, well, that's really odd. And so we have changed the description or added more of a description. And we expect that once we are stating it a little more clearly, like, oh, it's to use the Cricut, right? Then people are like, oh, use the Cricut, okay. So we expect that to be at 100% fill rate as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, moving along to old business, awarding of chiller cooling tower replacement project.
Okay, so we discussed this at the March Committee of the Whole meeting. This is the proposal to replace our chillers and cooling towers. The amount budgeted was $550,000. Our low bid is with Dame Mechanical for $549,440. In addition to that, we'd like to add a $27,472 contingency. That's 5% of the hard construction cost of the project for a total project cost of $576,912.
I'll move that the Board of Trustees authorizes entering into a contract for the chiller / cooling tower replacement project with Dame Mechanical for amount not to exceed $549,440. And the project will also include a 5% contingency in the amount of $27,472.
I second.
Any further discussion?
Just in the event that people are watching, this is a conversation that we had in the Committee of the Whole 2 weeks ago. So we really did discuss it at length with Gary and his team as well.
I was just wondering on the motion, should we clarify by saying for a total cost of $576,000? Because, you know, I mean, I suppose it could be interpreted, the project will also include a 5% contingency, which is part of that 549.
Yeah, you can, absolutely. We just wanted to break out that 549 because
Right,
the motion is
definitely,
actually the
yes,
contract, so.
So whatever the pleasure of the board is, the motion would have to be.
Well, so I'll amend the motion to say for a total project cost of $576,900.
Yeah, I think that makes it very clear then.
I still second.
Oh, good, thank you. Okay, Jen, roll call.
Trustee Burrell?
Yes.
Trustee Bauer?
Yes.
Trustee Meadow?
Yes.
Trustee Samari?
Yes.
Trustee Zeppelin?
Aye.
All right, revisions to policy 7.014 photographs and video recordings.
Okay, this was also discussed at the March Committee of the Whole meeting. This is revision to our policy 7.014 photographs and video recordings policy. This added those first 4 paragraphs to the policy, clarifying what a customer can do or record in the public space. Since the discussion at the Committee of the Whole meeting, we did make some minor changes to the policy that was proposed at the Committee of the Whole meeting. The first change was in the, let's see, second paragraph, which read, persons taking photographs and videos in the public space must abide by the library's code of conduct policy and may not block library aisles, walkways, stairwells, doors, or exits. We've revised that to be a little bit more specific to state that persons taking photographs and videos in the public space must abide by the library's code of conduct policy and shall not compromise a customer or staff member's right to privacy, harass, intimidate, or threaten a customer or staff member, or block library aisles, walkways, stairwells, doors, and exits. And really, that was just, we wanted to make sure that we were including that the customer and staff members' right to privacy is still protected. So they cannot zoom in on, customer records or tax data or something like that. That is not covered by the First Amendment. Second change was change number 2. That's in paragraph 3. That just clarifies who's responsible for the approval. So in the original version, we said that the commercial recording that may interfere with use of the library is prohibited without prior approval of library staff. We changed that to library administration instead of library staff. And that was to make it consistent with our other policies and to ensure that library administration was not only aware of commercial filming that was happening in the library, but also was able to make that decision rather than just any staff member that might be put on the spot. Then the third change in the last paragraph, the recording during programs may not be limited to the library. Therefore, we removed the by the library from the first sentence in the last paragraph. So the photographs, audio, and video may be live streamed or recorded of people participating in library programs and activities by the library. We struck by the library there. So the library attorney did review this policy after all those changes were made and after the Committee of the Whole meeting, just to ensure that we were still in line with what the expectation was for him. And he said it looked good as is. So this has been reviewed.
Discussion? I just have a question, and I watched the meeting, so I heard the first discussion, but with this new paragraph 2. So if I'm working in the library and someone comes and videos, can I say I'm a patron? Can I say, please don't video me
If you're a customer,
if I'm a customer?
yes, but you are in a public space. So the expectation is that while you're in a public space, you are still,
Right.
you can be recorded.
If you got up and left and you were being followed, that would violate the conduct policy.
Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I apologize for not asking this, the other meeting, but are there any with children, like under ages, like it's not?
They're protected the same way adults are. If they're in a public space, they can be recorded. If, again, that's why we wanted to include that harassment, intimidation, or threatening a customer or staff member. If someone becomes obnoxious or, causing a problem with the customer, then it becomes a code of conduct issue or, not just recording.
Oh, thank you.
I just have one thing, does right to privacy, is that understood as the right to privacy, or, that it would not be interpreted from, my own right to privacy? I mean, would it help to add the word lawful right to privacy? I just want, because, I don't know if that's a term, if the attorney reviewed it, then I suppose, that is a term that's understood. Right to privacy is, etched in stone.
Yeah.
Or
I think if you only look at that sentence, I think it does bring up that question as to what is my right to privacy?
Yeah.
Does that mean I shouldn't be recorded in a public space? But if you look at it in the context of the entire policy,
yeah,
so, we preface that with it is the recording in a public space is protected by the First Amendment. That permission is not required for taking photographs or videos in public areas of the
Yeah.
library building. So I think it does set that context.
Mhm.
However, if you'd like, I can review that with the attorney.
No, just, it's not an individual's own right to privacy. My right to privacy is different than your right to privacy. What we're saying is there a general rule or law, or whatever, of right to privacy?
Yeah, exactly what that means. That actually, that statement came from a policy that was written by Julie Tappendorf for
Oh,
Rails as
well,
a sample policy, and then
yeah.
reviewed by Roger Richmond, our attorney. So I
That's
feel like
fine.
it's been vetted, but if you'd like, we
No.
could review it. You know what, we could approve it as is, and then I'll review it, and then if we need to bring it back for change in the future.
Yeah, no, I mean, if two attorneys have gone through it, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Any other comments?
So when you go to the page 3, 7.014, the last paragraph, you've made some edits there as well. Were those captured in the first 2
Yeah,
pages?
those were in, no, those were in the version that we brought to the committee, the whole meeting.
Okay,
So the changes that I identified on those first 2
Changes.
pages are just changes since that committee meeting.
okay, thank you.
Next.
Okay, the policy will call or voice vote.
Well, it's gotta have a motion first.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's have a motion and then,
I motion the Board of Library Trustees adopts the revision to policy 7.014, photographs and video recordings.
I'll second.
okay, thank you. And do a roll call. It's a policy.
Trustee Burrell?
Yes.
Trustee Dalla? Yes. Trustee Meadow?
Yes.
Trustee Samari?
Yes,
Trustee Stefan?
Aye.
All right, approval of special event late opening.
Okay, so this was also discussed at the March Committee of the Whole meeting. This is a request for a late open for the makerspace on April 6th from, well, basically to open up at 3:30 p.m. And this is for an event that Diane actually mentioned, a bake-off with School District 214. So we'll be hosting the bake-off to showcase the maker place and to have, that group in there again. It was very successful last year. We'd love to continue to be the place that happens annually. So I am bringing this to you for consideration for a late open on April 6th, starting at 3:30 p.m. So we'd be closed from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and then we would open at 3:30.
A motion?
I move that the Board of Library Trustees approves delaying the opening of the maker place to the public on April 6th, 2023 to 3:30 p.m. to host the district or School District 214 bake off.
Second.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
That'll be fun to see,
Yeah, well,
like, what wins.
Is there anyone?
Right.
Right.
Okay, is there any new business? No new business. Is there any other? Anybody have any others? No? Well, then, a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?